Alright. So here we are at my local skate park, East Coast Park, Singapore. It's a nice and balmy 30 degrees. We're just along the equator, so the weather is always a 28 degrees to 33 degrees all year round. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. I think that countries that still use the imperial system should just grow up. Alright, so we're here to test out my new Franken skates. It's a USD navy carbon with a Aeon hard cuff and a shadow soleplate, Kaiser high-low 6860 frames, and custom 3D printed sidewalls and hitch block designed by Lee Robinson of the UK. And I gutted them, put a second skin liner in. So it's my first time skating them today, and we'll see how they skate. Alright, so we're going to take a run through my gear for every single session now. Got the Henry Boulevard padded shorts, elbow plastic gaskets, city brace, compression, knee sleeves and socks that make you feel super light. You can jump high, you can skate for super long, and knee and shin protectors. Essential stuff for anybody who's still skating over 30. Whoa! Yeah! Woo! Lemak kau quick. Duduk. Why are you doing this? Are you going to forward? No, I think so. If you ask me to do some kind of exit, yeah. Then you do the same. Alright, so that was the sixth session. Wow. Okay, so let's start with the shadow soleplate. So I skated shadows for about 4 years. I started when the Stockwell, all grey Stockwell ones first came out, and I skated all the way to the DL3s, which were the cream and the green ones. I've forgotten how wide shadow soles were. Coupled with a tall Kaiser frame, it felt like I felt really confident in my sole and topside tricks, like I couldn't miss. It felt like playing table tennis or ping pong with an actual tennis racket. You know, there was pretty much no way you could miss. So yeah, you know, if you great for top sides and sole tricks. I didn't do any spinning into tricks, but I felt that, you know, if I did spin into any sole or topside tricks, it would have been super easy to lock them, even with the additional lesser sole space caused by the sidewalls. You know, the shadow sole plate really compensates for those. Now, the back slide groove. So, if you compare side by side, there we go. If you compare the backslide grooves of the shadow sole plate versus the USD7 sole plate, you see that the USD7 sole plate has a couple of millimeters wider, has a couple of millimeters on the shadow backslide groove, so it's wider, and so that it can hold you balanced in the groove tricks for it gives you a greater margin of error before you slip out, before you overbalance or underbalance. And but still the shadow backslide groove was really sweet. It's just that, you know how sometimes when you backslide, and then your other leg is shaking around. For the USD7 sole plate, even when my other leg was flying around and like threatened to knock me off balance, the the 7 sole plate. Wow, this is kind of confusing. Okay, so on the shadow sole backslide, you know, if my other leg is swinging around, my other leg wouldn't have to travel so far before I felt like I was going to come off balance. Whereas for the 7 sole plate, when I backslide and my other leg is swinging around, you know, the sole plate will kind of hold me in place for a greater amount of degrees before I came off completely. So in terms of one-footed groove tricks, I would definitely go for the 7. That said, I did a couple of groove trick coping grinds on the shadow sole plate, and you know, I felt like I could not miss, and they just slid so well. So on backside groove tricks, if you can see, the shadow sole plate is so much more room on the sole side, creating a kind of a square profile on the sole plate, which I think the faction skate does as well. And it's okay once you get used to it, but it's kind of jarring when you do a front side backslide, for example, and you can kind of lean, your body knows how much to lean into the grind, whereas when you do a backside, you think that you have to lean the same amount, but because it's actually your heel is further back and the sole plate comes out so much wider, you actually don't have to lean quite as much, and then your body has to kind of compensate and remember the new amount that you have to lean, you have to lock the back top, if that makes any sense. It's not a big deal, you get used to it after a while, but it's just something to take note of. Right, so I think that's all I have to say about the shadow sole plate. Now, I think I've discovered something huge. I put the Aeon cuff on the skate, and the principal complaint with the carbons, which led to the Aeons, was that the cuff was too low, and a lot of people got ankle problems because of that. And I have to say that putting the Aeon cuffs on these carbons were just absolutely amazing. They have so much support, they're just the right height, just like incredible support. The previous time I had the stock blue cuffs on, right, they were too low, they were too soft. Of course, they were about 7 years old by now, but I put these Aeon cuffs down, and superb support with the with the shadow toe strap. I use that as a 45-degree cuff, wax lasers, and I must say that this is the most comfortable and snug and secure and supported I've ever felt in a skate, ever. So that leads me to think that, you know, if now the USD7 Soleplate deserves a run on this skate, and I think that I might have just discovered the smart man, not the poor man's, but the smart man's AG10 or faction skate, right? Because functionally, you know, it's exactly the same. It's a carbon fiber last. It's got a cuff, not a carbon fiber cuff, but of course, you know, the carbon fiber cuff is probably too stiff for aggressive. I wouldn't know, I haven't tried it. It's got a removable liner. It's got a nice buckle and USD7 Soleplate, which is exactly the same as the Icon Soleplate. So all you have to do is mod your carbon. Like if you have any old carbons lying around, or you can find some, all you have to do is just gut them. So I'm a EU size 41 and these carbons are EU size 42. I gutted them. I put a 41, 42 second skin in. Great fit. The A1 cuffs cost me about $17 US. So it only took me about 4 hours of work to gut the skate. And there you have it, a functionally similar skate to the AG10 or Faction, which costs upwards of $400-500 for 20 bucks and a few hours of work. I'm gonna test this out and let you know how these actually skate. If anybody from Icon or Faction wants to send me an AG10 or Faction to test side by side, you know, I'm happy to do it for you free of charge. Also this Soleplate, I bought a sheet of EVA foam to put inside the Soleplate as cushioning between the Soleplate and the boot. It worked for my left, but strangely for my right, it caused my foot to go supine a lot more, to the point where it was unskateable. There was too much pressure on the balls of my right foot, so I had to take them out. But I have to say, it skates fine. So metal frame, metal core, wheels, Soleplate on a carbon fiber boot. Should be the maximum shock absorption you feel, but I put in some FP insoles and, you know, no problems. But of course I'm not doing some monster double set gaps, so let's see how I do if I ever do them. So thanks for watching. Can't wait to skate them and see how they feel. See you next video.